We have a very interesting debate next up. We will be talking to Magamom. Now, you probably don't know them by name, but chances are you have seen them on your For You page. Let's go ahead and pull up their content and take a look in the minute or two that we have here before we get them pulled up into the live stream. So you've probably seen this account before. It's a son who will ask their mom questions about the state of American politics and see what their response is. Let's take a listen into one of the videos.
What do you think about Trump falling yesterday?
He did not fall.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
He did not, Nicholas.
How did he not fall? It's on the news.
It is not on the
Yes,
news.
it is. What do you think about Trump falling yesterday?
So there's one example. That video right there has 6 million views. This one has 7.5 million. This one with 5. Now, it looks like this video's them asking their MAGA mom about Nick Fuentes. Let's see what she has to say.
What do you think about Nick Fuentes, mother?
I think I agree with him on some things, but other things, he's a radical nut job.
Like, well, do you agree that he hates Trump? Like, do you agree with that? Of course you don't.
That's a nut job.
But you think all his other ideologies and everything is good?
Not all of them.
But most of them.
Some of them.
Yeah, whatever. That's disgusting.
Okay, so this is who we're going to be talking to here in the next minutes. Maybe I wish I would have taken a better look at, the book of all the videos to get all of her political takes. Let's watch one more before we get them up.
What do you think about Trump being in the Epstein files again, mother?
Look, Epstein so wanted to be Donald Trump's BFF, and Donald Trump shot him down.
I think they were dating, personally. That's my... No.
Donald Trump.
This sounds funny as hell. Okay, all right. Well, let's go and get them up, folks. I'm going to send the invite now, and hopefully we'll be able to change his mom's mind. By the way, I want to put it out there. You guys are going to witness maybe some unorthodox methods of me, because my singular goal is to change her mind. Now, you may hate me in the moment of. You may see what I'm getting at. Just trust the process. Hi, welcome in.
Hello.
I have been very excited to have a conversation with you. How's your day going?
My day has been great. How about yours?
Well, my day's been okay. I started it with nice breakfast, went to the gym, got a good workout in, came home, ate some lunch. Now I've been on live. I'm going to be honest, a couple of the people that I've talked to today have by far been pretty tough. So, I mean, I haven't been in that good of a mood, but I'm trying to cheer myself up to talk to you. Should I address you by Magamom, or is there something else that you'd like me to refer to you as?
No, Magamom is fine.
Magamom is fine. Perfect. Well, first and foremost, I had the opportunity of talking to your son. He seemed pretty cool, so it seems like, you're doing something right, Miss Magamom. Same thing with, what he was telling me about. I mean, I won't share it on live since it seemed personal, about what you were doing before 8 today. Just know that, that's really admirable, and I love people who care about their parents is what I'll say, to be elusive enough so nobody else knows what you're doing, but direct enough so you know what I'm saying. Now, clearly on this live stream, we have conversations with Trump supporters, and I'll be transparent. My goal is to try to change your mind, because I truly believe in my heartest of hearts that, partisan politics aside, Trump is bad. Bad man with bad policy that should not be in politics. But I want to give the floor to you. If you want to tell us why you disagree, or even if why you support him, I'm open-minded. I'm just here to seek truth. So take it away.
If you want to know why I support Trump, Trump is a businessman, and that is what our country needs. Our country needs someone to run it like a business.
Mm-hmm.
You getting back to like the old way. People working, not everybody on welfare, not everybody living off the system. I just like Trump.
Okay.
I don't agree with everything Trump does, and I think he needs to stay off Twitter and he needs to tone it down, and nobody likes to hear how great he is, including me. But he does do a lot of good things, and he does have a big heart.
Okay, big heart. Sounds good. All right, let's go through those. So your first point, saying that he's, a businessman. Okay, he definitely is. He owns a lot of businesses. He's a billionaire. He's a businessman, that's for sure. And you said that, our country needs a businessman. So, our economy could be thriving again and people could be better off. Now, listen, I couldn't agree with you more by saying that I think the survival and flourishment of the American economy is of utmost importance because it directly impacts the quality of the lives of you, me, and everybody else around us. 100%. But I don't think this businessman is the man for the job. And I say that because even though he has all this business experience, owns a shit ton of them, that hasn't translated into real material results for you and me. When we look at the outcomes of his tariffs, of his trade wars, of the big beautiful bill, we don't see the economy getting better. We only see it getting worse. Last year, in 2025, in fact, we had the worst jobs report since 2003 if we ignore recessions because of the instability and insecurity created by the big beautiful bill and his tariffs. We also had the highest level of unemployment and the most layoffs since the pandemic. And we've only seen a decreasing level of business investment into our manufacturers for every quarter he's been president, when it was only going up and up and up under Biden.
I agree with you on some of that. But, I go back to like thinking when Obama was in, we were forced to take Obamacare. And we were told we could keep our insurance that we currently had. That didn't pan out. I wish Trump would work on healthcare reform. That would be great. I used to work in healthcare. Jobs, there are a shit ton of jobs out there, but nobody wants to work because everybody's got their hand out for the government to help them. I mean,
Okay.
We see it in our area. Do I think Trump needs to tone down? Yes. I agree with you on saying, sometimes he does not seem like the right man for the job. But for the most part, yeah, unemployment is terrible. And the tariffs, I think the tariffs will take a long time to work to our advantage. I mean, we're just getting into that now, and it's in a big uproar. But I think if he could have had his first term without lawsuits and staying in court, we would be in a lot better shape than we are now. But he couldn't be a president his first term because the Democrats wouldn't leave him alone.
Yeah. Okay. The first point I'll make here in response is I claim the reason why unemployment is going up is because businesses are going down. You're claiming the reason why unemployment is going up is because of the work ethic and morale of our citizens is going down because of social safety nets. I'd say there's a way we could determine who's right because we can't both be right. One of us is right and one of us is wrong. Do you agree?
I agree. I mean,
Okay.
Everybody's got their opinion.
So here's the tool that I would use to determine who's right. Layoffs. Because if somebody is losing their job because they got fired, that's an example of a person that wants to work but isn't. Right? That's not an example of somebody that's freeloading off the government. They had a job, they got fired. And last year, we saw the most layoffs since the pandemic. 1.3 million layoffs. So I think I'm right on this one, that unemployment's being driven by companies going down because a lot of the unemployed people that are increasing the unemployment rate are not unemployed because they're freeloaders, but unemployed because they got fired. Another data point we could also use to prove this, is the fact that we also had the most manufacturing bankruptcies since 2010 last year. So it wasn't just like companies were getting larger and becoming more productive and didn't need their employees anymore because they replaced them with automation. The companies went out of business. 1.3 million layoffs and the most bankruptcies since 2010. Companies are going out of business and people are losing their jobs and the unemployment rate is going up.
Okay, now, why do you think these businesses are going out?
Good question. So the first reason why a bunch of manufacturers went bankrupt last year is because those manufacturers were reliant on two things. Okay? The first thing would be not importing the goods that they sell, because they're an American manufacturer, but rather importing some of the raw materials they would use to create the goods they sell. But then those raw materials jumped in price by like 20% overnight. The raw materials from China increased in price by like 200% overnight. And it wasn't sustainable. They couldn't stay in business. They shut down. Now, the second reason why a lot of manufacturers went bankrupt is because it takes investment to keep them running in many scenarios. A bunch of manufacturers are not profitable for the first 5 years. So they are reliant on investment to keep them, floating in the water. But for the first time in years, we saw investment into American manufacturing plummet. Why do we see it plummet? Because investors were so speculative of the market. Because one day Trump's imposing 125% tariffs over here. The next day they're on all the countries. The next day they're not on all the countries. The next day he's increasing them by 150% on China and Mexico. The next day he's reducing them on Argentina, then giving the money. Then the next day he's increasing them to 25% on the EU, then taking them away from Switzerland because the leader of Switzerland spoke to him nice over the phone. That creates an unstable, unpredictable market. Investors don't like that. They make less investments. Manufacturers rely on those investments. They no longer have that money. They go out of business. They fire all the employees.
Okay, I agree with you on most of that. The tariff thing has been a shit show. It's not, it needs to be one tariff and be done. It's right. Not. It's all over the map, just like you said.
And now it's getting worse because the Supreme Court ruled them as illegal, and now the Trump administration has to refund $166 billion from what they collected.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of a really negligent decision of Trump? Like, I'm not saying that when he signed those tariffs into effect, he knew they were illegal. I'm saying when he signed those tariffs into effect, he didn't know they were legal. Okay? And the repercussions of that are immense.
Well, yeah, and it shows.
Right?
But
it's not a good decision. Maybe that's a reason not to support him.
No.
Okay.
No, I still think that his ideology, he has good ideas. He has a jacked up way of going about them. The tariffs would be great if implemented, I guess, the right way. All countries have tariffs.
Yeah.
Most.
Yeah.
Why are the Democrats so down on Trump imposing tariffs?
Yeah.
When it generates money.
Listen, well, they haven't generated money. They've just lost us money because of the economic productivity that we've lost because of all the manufacturers that have shut down and the people that have been laid off. And then even the money that was directly paid to the government by the tariffs is now being refunded. So you said, why are the Democrats against them if they're generating us money? Because they're not generating us money, for one. The second thing that I'll say is that you're right. A lot of countries impose tariffs on other countries. True. Because tariffs are not always a bad thing. But in order for a tariff to be a good thing, you have to ensure that you're implementing that tariff, not because of wrathful revenge or a show of power, but rather because of the predicted economic outcomes. Donald Trump is not implementing his tariffs because of the predicted economic outcomes. He doesn't even know they're legal. He's implementing his tariffs as a form of soft power to control what other countries do for him.
Well, I think as far as the tariffs that he's implemented, some, maybe most, I don't know, some were to try to force the hand of manufacturers that have left the United States to go elsewhere for cheap labor, try to force them to come back here.
Yeah. And listen, I see the thought process there. Manufacturers have left to get cheaper labor, more raw materials to build their goods to other countries. Okay, we're no longer benefiting from that. That's not helping the American economy as much as it would be if they were here. So maybe if we turn around and impose these massive tariffs on them, they'll see that they actually have a larger profit incentive to operate in America compared to operating elsewhere. Okay, I see your logic. Okay, the issue with that logic is to build manufacturing plants in America, it takes billions of dollars of investment, sometimes multiple millions in most cases, and it takes like 4 to 7 years to get from the planning phases to the building phases. Then you have a manufacturing plant that's running well. And if the tariffs are not reliably implemented for the long term, i.e. they know that they will exist for more than 7 years. Okay? Because remember, they have to exist while they're building the plant, and then they have to exist for a long while after they build the plant and it's running to reap that profit. Then there's no point. And Donald Trump's tariffs are not going to stay around for more than his administration. All right? In fact, they've already been getting cut during his administration. Liberation Day, there's tariffs on every other country in the world. 2 months later, we only had tariffs on China, Argentina, Mexico, and Canada. and then 1 month later, we had tariffs on nobody because the Supreme Court ruled them as illegal. So because they were not long-term tariffs, but just short-term tariffs, and they keep on popping up on random countries and random places, and we'll probably see that more in the future, there's no real incentive for these companies to spend the millions to move back here to take 7 years to build the facilities, because they're just going to wait them out. They know they're not going to stick around. They know they're not going to be there forever, or that's at least what the most probable outcome is, because that's what has happened for the last year and a half.
But don't you agree that a president has to start somewhere to try to get businesses back? I mean,
go ahead.
Somebody's got to start somewhere to try to get this back. If not, all these companies, all the manufacturers, yeah, they're going to leave. I mean, we've seen it over and over and over.
Okay.
Just like when you go to buy a refrigerator, you've got to make sure you get one that's manufactured here in the United States, or you can't get parts.
Yeah.
Or nobody around works on them.
Well, I think you're experiencing tunnel vision on the subject, where there's maybe 1,000 different ways that we could drive more manufacturers back to America. And you've isolated your tunnel vision on the one way of tariffs that has a really terrible track record, doesn't seem to be working, only seems to be hurting us. But because it's Trump's policy and you like Trump, you're going to keep that isolated tunnel vision on the tariffs. Well, let's expand our vision here. There's many other better ways to bring manufacturers back, like subsidies, subsidizing chip producers, giving them the money to build their manufacturing plants. Seems crazy? Not really. Why? Well, because we'll get that money back. Because when they build their manufacturing plant here, ultimately they're going to sell what they produce, and then ultimately they're going to pay taxes on what they sell. So we get that money back. That's what Biden did with the Chips and Science Act. That's what Biden did with the infrastructure bill. And that's why under Biden, we saw the largest increase in investment into American manufacturing in the private sector, because it was influenced by the public investment into other companies. So it kind of like set forth this butterfly effect, where when the government helped out a couple companies to start building here, and they were, having glorious results, a bunch of private companies with no help from the government started building here too at a level we've never seen before. And that worked. Definitely worked better than what Trump is doing right now.
Okay, I agree with you on that.
That's huge. What you just said is huge. Because if we're now agreeing, irrespective of the line between us, Republican, Democrat, that the Biden-Harris administration was doing a lot better at driving manufacturers back to America than Trump, then maybe I think we just set our political difference aside and we say we need more of that. We need less of what we have under Trump. We need more of what we had under Biden. And that right there is a damn compelling reason to not support Trump.
No, now, that is one reason that you could say I'm not a fan of. But there are, all right, I'll go to this. I live in a state that is red with a Democratic governor.
I think I did an interview. Kentucky?
Yes.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
So, I did too. I liked him so much that I voted for him his last term. And I'm a diehard Republican. And then as soon as I voted for him, oh, how he did a complete turnaround. And he has took off on his rants. And I used to think he was so, he didn't see it Republican, Democrat. He saw us as a whole. And now he has flipped the script. So I regret that decision.
No.
But If
So
there's
it has to do
if
like
there
who he
was
is as
a
a
good
person.
Democratic nominee running for president, I'm not opposed to voting Democratic if there was somebody that I believed in
Yeah.
and thought could do a good job.
Okay. So it seems like you kind of stopped supporting Andy over who he was as a person. Maybe he was launching too many unfair attacks at Trump. Okay. Can we evaluate who Trump is as a person? Would you still support Trump as president if you knew that he had sexually exploited naked women and boasted about it and called it funny?
Listen, I know what you're talking about, and maybe he did. And I won't go into the, look what the Democrats have done, because they've done bad shit too. And that's about all I'm going to say on that. I mean, he has said some off the wall, raunchy things.
Well, it's not about what he said. It's about what he's done. If he actually sexually exploited naked women, barged
Are you
into
talking
their...
about him walking in on the pageant
Yes.
when they're changing and
Naked,
this,
yes.
that, and the other?
Yeah. If he can't respect the consent of women and girls, he can't respect the bank account of the average American. I think that the consent of a woman is more meaningful than the bank account of the average American. Your self-ownership over your body is much more personal than how much money you have, even if you don't have a lot. So, because of that, I just don't think that this is a man who could effectively govern. First off, all right? If you're like willing to like barge into somebody's dressing room and look at their naked body to get sexual arousal or whatever, and you just don't give a fuck about them or care about their consent or that they might not want that, you lack a certain foundational moral value of caring for other people. And I think that foundational moral value is necessary to be a good president. You gotta care about other people. You represent 340 million of them. And that's just the first argument. The second argument is, well, this is a moral crisis we have on our hands. Our representatives are supposed to be better than that. That is so far below the Oval.
Okay. So, yes, he has probably, I'll say probably, because I don't know, I wasn't there. He's probably done things as you speak, or maybe, but I think, and we all know, anybody who listens to Donald Trump talk knows he loves to brag. Now, do I believe everything he says? No, I think some things are said in bragging, like Howard Stern or whoever, because he is a boastful person and he likes to make himself look bigger than what he is sometimes.
Okay. I agree. Trump loves to brag.
Yes, and you're talking about morals and values. Listen, we've had people run our country that have done despicable things to women. Talk about children. You had Biden talking about children rubbing his hairy legs and silly things like that. And then you had Clinton, who wanted to do disgraceful things to Monica Lewinsky with a cigar in the Oval Office. I mean, we've had a lot of bad stuff happen. We can't just focus on what one man has done. I mean, they're all, and we don't even know a fraction of what really goes on. That's just some things that were brought to light.
Yeah. So the first point I'll make here is I agreed with you that Trump is a very braggy guy, but when men brag about things, it's to make themselves look better to those around them. And the reason why you don't hear men bragging about rape, SA, sexual exploitation, when in all reality they're innocent, is because that's not a lie that you'd tell somebody to make yourself look better to them. That's why we know that although Trump lies a lot and although Trump brags a lot, he wasn't lying or bragging when he said that he'd sexually exploit these beauty pageant contestants, because there's no incentive to lie or brag. Now, second of all, you said, well, okay, Donald Trump does have a really bad character. Maybe he did sexually exploit those beauty pageant contestants. Maybe he did rape E. Jean Carroll. Maybe Jane Doe
no.
number 4 was trafficked by Epstein to him. But we've had a lot of other bad presidents that have done bad things too, like Biden with the hairy legs or Clinton with Monica Lewinsky. Listen, if I believed that Clinton or Biden engaged in sexual violence, which is an umbrella term that includes rape, SA, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation on top of other things, I would not support them as president. I wouldn't.
Okay. Well, I mean, and Joe Biden, really and truly, that's just an opinion. People can, think whatever, but I personally think he was a creep. Now, do I think Donald Trump is a creep? I guess in certain ways, yes. Do I think he sexually assaulted the Carol lady? Absolutely not. I would never be convinced of that.
Well, okay. All right. I could convince you. It's easy. She claims she had a dress with her DNA in it that would prove Trump met her because Trump claimed he never met her. Prove Trump raped her because it's the dress that she wore when she was raped. Then the court turned around and they confirmed it had male DNA on it. And then they asked Trump, hey, bro, can you give us your DNA to see if it's the same DNA that's on this dress? And he said no. For 2.5 years. Why? If he was innocent, just why? If I was falsely accused of raping somebody and they're like genuinely nuts, which is the way you guys like to paint E. Jean Carroll to be, and they claim that they had this dress that they wore when I raped him and it has my DNA in it, and I knew I never met him, oh my God. When it would take a moment of thought to turn around and give my DNA to the court to prove my innocence. Especially if I'm running for president. Just being in that trial, even if he wasn't found guilty, would make him look bad. Definitely reduce his chance of winning, even though he did. Right? If I was in that position of running for president, I'd want it wrapped up and done with today with a damning exoneration. I would give my DNA so fast. He didn't.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. But if you go back and from his first term, look at how much time he spent in court over bogus bull. And you know it. I mean, over Michael Cohen and his stupid crap.
Michael Cohen was just a witness to his 34 counts of business fraud, which he was found guilty of.
Who hasn't went to the bank? Well, I mean, when you go to the bank, they're going to say, they'll do an appraisal. What do whatever. The bank was paid back. The bank was in court and said they had no problem with any dealings with him.
Oh, Michael Cohen wasn't a witness to the business fraud of lying about the valuation of the properties. He was a witness to the Stormy Daniels criminal felony conviction case.
Oh yeah, Stormy Daniels.
I don't know if we're getting any headway here, unfortunately. Let me try to find another question to ask you. If Biden basically called for the execution of 7 sitting Republicans in Congress when he was president, would you argue any reasonable American should stop supporting Biden? Because that is a threat to our democratic institutions.
Trump, he says a lot of things, and he does a lot of things, but I feel like he has had more Democrats call upon American people to eliminate him. Hell, he was shot at.
Like? What Democrats have done that?
Oh my gosh. They don't come right out and say, okay, somebody should kill him, but he needs to be stopped at whatever cost.
Well, listen, if a Democrat did say that Trump should be hung, should that Democrat be kicked out of politics?
I don't have an opinion. I don't know.
Oh, come on. It's so clear. You hate, you were just drilling on the Democrats so hard, right? If let's say, if the most powerful Democrat in this country said Trump should be hung, hang him, for he is a traitor, should he be allowed to continue to sit in his seat? Would you ever support somebody that said, hang Trump, he's a traitor? Would you ever support somebody like that in your life?
I mean, or at some point, logic has to come across people's minds and say, do we really hang people? No. It's figuratively speaking. And do I think the Democrats, when they holler Trump has to be stopped at whatever cost or whatever, do I think that they're the reason he got shot? I don't know. Do I think they don't need to be in politics?
This isn't working either, because clearly you know where I'm going with this, and it's the fact that Donald Trump called for the execution of 6 sitting Democrats in Congress. All right, so that's not going anywhere. Carol Ripke isn't going anywhere. So sexual exploitation's not going anywhere. Oh boy. All right, listen, I'm going to pass the ball back in your court now that we've gone through economics. What's the biggest reason why you support Trump?
I feel like Trump has... All right, I'll go back to when I watched Trump when he was a very young man on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And Oprah asked him if he was talking politics. Oprah asked him if he would ever run for president. And he said, if I felt like the country needed me, yes, I would. I had never voted in an election in my life, but I said at that point, if he ever ran, because I followed him and always listened to him when he was on television or whatever, read articles, I said if he ever ran, I would go vote for him. That was the first time I ever voted. Was his
Not
first
because
time.
of his policies, or just because he said that, you know, I'd run if it was for the betterment of the country 30 years ago?
Oh, no, because of the way he carries himself, the way he...
Carries himself? Dude, he carries himself by calling Democrats terrorists, calling for their execution, starting the wars in Iran after he promised no new wars, spiking the price of gas by over $1 a month, highest since the Vietnam War, calling himself Jesus, attacking the Pope, threatening to genocide 90 million, right? Lying over 30,000 confirmed times.
And
well, the Pope just read the gospel. The Pope just read the gospel. I mean, the Pope is right to detest Trump's war in Iran. I could tell you why. Are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
Have you ever heard of Christian war theory?
Christian war theory? No, I don't believe I have.
So this came about after some of the bloodiest parts of, the history of the Vatican as a way to justify war in consideration of their pacifist Christian beliefs, the whole turn the other cheek thing. And Christian war theory, in a nutshell, says that before you go to war with a nation, you must first exhaust all diplomatic channels of negotiation. And the reason why the Pope is shitting on Trump for his war in Iran is because that's not what Trump did. He didn't exhaust all negotiation with Iran. He told a lie, said they were an imminent nuclear threat when they weren't, and hit him with some tomahawks because of pressure from Israel. Of course the Pope should blast unjust war.
Okay, now listen. This whole no new war, I hear this from my son every day. So that strikes a nerve with me. Here's my opinion on that. All right, he did say no new wars. But are we supposed to sit back until another 9/11 happens and then say, oh, well, maybe we should have done something before then?
So your argument is...
You cannot talk to Iran. Those people are crazy. You cannot talk to those type of people. They've negotiated. They've tried.
Well, they did. They successfully negotiated. First and foremost, we need to understand why Iran doesn't like America. And I think the IRGC sucks. They're really bad. They're terrorists. Okay? But Iran doesn't like America because in the 50s, we couped their democratically elected leaders. Okay? Then we installed our own leader. In the 70s, revolution took place. The Islamic extremists overtook that revolution and then empowered themselves. 73, 74, we shot down a plane over the country, went into a hospital, killed 50 people. Okay? 80s, we sold the military equipment. Okay, we said, hey, guess what, guys? We're going to be friends. Let's be allies. Give us $400 million for all this military equipment. They paid us. We just scammed them, never gave them the equipment. It's unreal. It's legit unreal. And then under Obama, You know, he came back around. He said, hey, listen, I'm sorry that we scammed you. I'm sorry that we cooed your leader. But now we want to strike a deal to ensure that you're never going to have nukes. And they said, okay, we'll deal. All right. That's where the JCPOA came from. A deal that prevented Iran from ever having nukes. Trump walks into office, does the same thing the CIA did with their coup, the same thing we did with scamming them for $400 million, pulled us outside of the JCPOA, and now, 10 years later, started a war with them. They're crazy, we're crazy. Now, second of all, you said they'd never be willing to negotiate. They did with Obama. Why did they negotiate with Obama, but they won't negotiate with Trump?
Obama gave them money.
Gave them their money. He gave them their money. Remember those weapons that I said we scammed them for in the 80s? He gave them their own money back. That true. He gave them $400 million plus around 25 to 30 years of interest.
So the Democrats are all tore up about the no new wars, and that's all you hear everybody talk about. So
why aren't you? It's killing people and making your gas cost more.
Well, yeah, gas is up, but that's part of it.
What's being achieved? What's the goal? It's not like we're going to get rid of the IRGC. He's negotiating with the IRGC. Like, what's the goal?
All right, so go back to the no new wars. Say, for instance, Russia, China, or any foreign country attacks us because he said no new wars. Are we going to sit and let him attack us? Of course not.
If another country attacks us, okay, we neutralize the threat. Now, how did Iran attack us? With the fair use of defensive means. But how did Iran attack us?
They did not.
So we attacked them. So let's just apply your logic on them. Because not just America has a legitimate claim to defensive use of military exertion, so does every other country, unfortunately, including Iran for you, right? So we attack them. Do they have the right to sit there and defend themselves?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Iran had the right to kill 13 servicemen and women?
We're in a battle, yes.
Right? And they only had that right because Donald Trump bombed them? So ultimately, Donald Trump gave the lives of 13 servicemen and women to Iran? And this is the president that you support? This guy is patriotic? Stands for a military? No way.
Oh, listen. On these wars and all this other bullshit.
Why's it bullshit?
All right, we can go back to Hillary Clinton and Biden when they left our people over there to get killed in Benghazi.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah, you don't support them, right? Like, I don't understand why a lot of Trump supporters will try to like reach back to Biden or Hillary Clinton to make a point by like saying all these bad things that you think they did. Those bad things that you think they did are the reasons why you don't support them as politicians. And you're acting as if they're equivalents to what Trump is doing today. Okay. So it seems like from your perspective, Trump is in the same bin as Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Biden. If Trump is in the same bin as Hillary Clinton and Biden, you definitely wouldn't be a Trump supporter.
Are you a Biden supporter or were you?
Yeah, I thought that Biden was definitely the best option we had.
Wasn't it his administration that left our people? Wasn't it his administration that pulled out of shit? I can't even remember
Afghanistan?
Where. Yes.
Yeah, and wasn't it Trump's administration that organized the first 75% of it and struck a deal with the Taliban to let 5,000 Taliban prisoners out of Camp David when one of them inevitably was a suicide bomber that killed our servicemen and women? What, during the pullout? Yes.
Okay. We lost servicemen then.
We're losing much more now.
Yeah, we're not going to get nowhere on that one. Trump, I do support. Do I support everything? No.
What about the letter he sent to Epstein?
Oh, you know that's fake.
Actually, the lawsuit got dropped last week. The reason why the lawsuit got dropped last week is because of the House subcommittee releasing the real letter last year. Trump claimed it's fake, sued him. Lawsuit's been dropped because Congress affirmed it's real. Why do you think it's
No,
fake?
I've not heard any of that.
Okay. Why do you think it's fake? Because Trump said so? Come on, that's
No.
unrealistic.
No, that's not why I think it's fake. It was told that was part of, and I can't remember exactly.
Birthday book to Epstein on his 50th in 2003.
Say that again.
It was a part of a birthday book compiled for Epstein for his 50th birthday in 2003.
Okay. You're saying this, I don't even know what the letter said. It was, and it had a drawing on it, didn't it?
Yeah, here it is. A voiceover. There must be more to life than everything. Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey. Nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey. Yes, we do come to think of it. Donald. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey. As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Outlined by the naked body of a little girl. I say it's a little girl because of the size of the breasts.
Okay. So that's your opinion, right?
Yeah. Now, why do you think this is fake?
I cannot remember where I read it, but it talked about when all that was released. I think Caroline Leavitt is actually the one I listened to that day, and said that it was fake. It was not. It was part of some. They couldn't determine where it came from.
Nope, they did. That's not true. It came from the birthday binder book. You could actually find this alongside the other 100 pages on the internet, Epstein File Library. We see the rest of it too. So they could determine where it came from. Caroline Leavitt did say it's fake, but, I mean, what's the evidence? How about this? If it was real, can we agree that Trump would say it's fake?
Listen,
Can we?
Could very well could be real.
Listen,
but even if it is, what does it implicate?
What it implicates, okay, is a couple things. First, why is he sending this letter to Jeffrey with the outline of a naked girl? Second, what are they talking about here when they say there's more to life than having everything? Well, we know that Jeffrey thought the thing that was more to life than having everything like money was raping kids. Okay, that coincidentally lines up with the outline. Okay, Jeffrey says he's not going to say what it is. Okay, so it must be something taboo because they won't say it. Raping kids is pretty taboo. Okay, and then he says, may every day be another wonderful secret. Donald says that to Epstein at the end. Okay, well, what were Epstein's secrets? Raping kids.
Well, yes. I mean, that was part of his gig. But listening to you talk is like, all right, you're bringing this up about Trump. Was Trump the only one that was implicated, or
Only one that was implicated? You think Trump was implicated? Oh.
you're saying that about the letter? Is
Right.
what I'm saying.
And that's not the only thing that implicates him. The fact that his DOJ illegally redacted his name 1 million times implicates him. The fact that his DOJ was forced to release all the Epstein files by December 17th of 2025 and they still haven't 6 months later implicates him. The fact that they concealed the names of co-conspirators implicates him. The fact that he was Epstein's best friend implicates him.
Oh,
The fact that he lied about the nature of his relationship with Epstein implicates him. You know, Donald Trump's been telling us since 2019 that he never knew what Epstein was doing, but now with the most recent batch of release of the Epstein files, we learned that he knew so much about what Epstein was doing, that he knew Ghislaine Maxwell was involved. And after Epstein was arrested in 2003, turned around, called the authorities, said, thank you for catching him. Also look into Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, so that lie implicates him. The fact that anonymous Jane Doe number 4, who we know was trafficked by Epstein because she won millions of dollars in a lawsuit against Epstein, okay, in a settlement, privately in confidence told the FBI that she was also raped by Donald Trump implicates him. The fact that outside of the Epstein files, the court determined he raped a woman by the name of E. Jean Carroll implicates him. The fact that he admitted to barging into the dressing rooms of naked women and naked minors to look at their naked bodies implicates him. The fact that he hit on a 10-year-old girl in the 90s when she was walking up the escalator telling her that I'll be dating you in 10 years implicates him. All of these things implicate him. All of them. To an incredible degree. And if it was anybody but Trump, you'd agree. Like Eric Swalwell, 5 credible accusations. Do you agree with the rest of the GOP in Congress that wanted Eric Swalwell to resign?
I've not really paid that much attention to what his whole deal is. Getting back to if the previous administration would have had any kind of information that would have implicated Trump to the point that he could have been prosecuted, do you not think they would have done that?
I don't. I don't, and I can tell you why.
Please do.
For the same reason that they didn't release anything about him at all in the Epstein files. They viewed the DOJ as completely independent of themselves. In fact, so independent that that's one of my disagreements with Biden. I wish he would have dipped his toe into the DOJ a little bit to expose Trump. But he didn't. I mean, the letter I just showed you is from the files. The credible accusation I named was from the files. The fact that he's been lying about the nature of his relationship since the early 2000s was in the files. The fact that Epstein's lawyer said Epstein was never kicked out of Mar-a-Lago was in the files. All of these things implicating Trump are in the files, and Biden never released them.
But nobody will ever convince me that if that administration, after everything they went through to try to oust Donald Trump, if they would have had that information, and they did have it.
Then why didn't they release anything I just named?
But why didn't they?
Exactly, because they saw the DOJ is independent. They left it alone.
No. If they, the Russia hoax bullshit, they went to that extreme when they could have just...
Because the Russia hoax wasn't bullshit. They proved that his personal attorney had been personally colluding with Russia, and that Russia was interfering with the 2016 election to help Trump get elected, even if they couldn't prove that Trump himself was personally incriminated by it.
Oh, jeez.
That was the Mueller report. I know that a lot of MAGA just likes to highlight the section of the Mueller report that says we couldn't incriminate Trump for any personal wrongdoing, but then you won't talk about the fact that they did that to his lawyer. We'll talk about the fact that they still proved Russia interfered to help get Trump elected.
No, the administration, Biden administration, if all this evidence was so damning against Trump, they would have used that.
Okay. I want to get your take. I'm going to play you a clip of Donald Trump admitting to sexual exploitation. I just want your honest reaction at the end of this. What we're going to do here is we're going to play the clip of Trump, and then we're going to play a clip of one of the women. Okay?
All right.
Oh, man. Right? You're a powerful man.
Right.
I want to sleep with you. Now, you're not the type that would say no.
I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right. No, but I mean, you see a beautiful woman, you want to have that. You're a guy who likes to have everything, right?
Well, couldn't that be construed, however, as
conflict?
Yes.
I don't see it as a conflict.
It could be a conflict of interest, but it's the kind of thing you worry about later.
Oh, I see.
You tend to think about the conflict a little bit later on.
The question is, how can it not be construed?
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with vagina. And,
well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And
here's the part.
Everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else, and no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
like
everything is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
Came strolling right in. There was no second to put a robe on or any sort of clothing or anything. Some girls were topless, other girls were naked.
As Miss Arizona 2001, Tasha Dixon competed in the Miss USA pageant. Donald Trump owned the contest along with Miss Universe and Miss Teen USA for 19 years.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked, changing into our bikinis. To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him.
And Dixon.
So you agreed he's bad for manufacturing. We went over the worst jobs report since '03, the most manufacturing bankruptcy since '10. Agreed his tariffs aren't working. You agreed his senseless war in Iran is hurting you, making you pay significantly more for gas. Okay. GDP growth is down. Investment in manufacturing is down. Our country is suffering. All right. He seems to be looking like a real bad guy from the Epstein files with a whole letter talking about some crazy enigma with Epstein wishing that he'd keep his merry secrets outlined by the naked body of a girl. Court found him guilty of raping a woman, even though you doubt the court. And now you're hearing a clip of this man admitting to sexual exploitation, like barging in to the dressing rooms of women and girls to look at their naked bodies. Imagine if, like, you're a woman. Imagine that was you. You were at Kohl's trying on a dress. Floor manager, who's a man, walks up to your door, opens it up, oogles your naked body, then goes sits down on a public podcast and talks about how great you looked. Insane.
Yeah, I will agree. That's disgusting.
Why is it not enough? It should be enough. I think that should be enough. We shouldn't have a president who does that to women. We shouldn't. And you said, oh, well, look at Biden, look at Clinton. If they did that too, fuck them. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. If our president is oogling the naked bodies of women unconsensually, sexual exploitation, including kids, by the way, he did this at Miss Teen USA. We had 4 teens come forward. Imagine if that was your little girl. Imagine that was your son. Like, hitting on 10-year-old girls while they're walking up the escalators. Like, and on top of that all, he's destroying this country's manufacturing. It's unacceptable. No. I don't think that this is something that anybody should support. I mean, like, think about your grandkids. You're gonna have grandkids one day, right? If your son has kids, maybe you have other kids outside of your son. You're gonna be a grandma. Do you want to be remembered as a grandma who would argue this guy who, if he had the chance to in the 90s, would oogle the naked body of your grandkid if they were in a pageant room? Do you want to be the grandma that defends that? Says he should be president, the most powerful man alive? Or can we just agree that, like, no human, right or left, should support this kind of person to run our country? Just like, I understand that you've been living in the MAGA mindset for so long, since his first term. You even said that you saw a clip of him in the 90s on Oprah Winfrey. And it's just hard to change your mind overnight. But I promise, from an outside perspective, the belief structure in which you adhere to is perverse. And I hope that one day you see that. And you might even see it a little bit now, because you said that was disgusting. It's so disgusting. We shouldn't want that to be the most powerful man alive. I want him to be in jail for that. It's so disgusting. He should be in jail for it. Not president, regardless of it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you believe in redemption? Do you believe people can change in 20, 30 years? Do you believe there is redemption?
So, I think that redemption is very nuanced. I think that you could be redeemed for some things. I don't think that you could be redeemed from others. And the things that you can't be redeemed for are because I think that rehabilitation from those things is nearly impossible. I don't think that you could be rehabilitated from sexual violence, especially in the circumstances where it's so mask off. Like Trump engaging in sexual exploitation and calling it funny. Like, if you think, infringing on the right of self-ownership, bodily autonomy, and consent of a woman to look at her naked body unconsensually is funny, you have some deeper underlying issue that makes you lack this core of fundamental value that I don't think could be redeemed. And even if we imagine this world where it could be redeemed, right? Well, they would feel so bad about what they did because it's so heinous and perverse to the extent it's one of the worst things a human could do, that they'd probably say, I'm sorry, all right? Trump doesn't say I'm sorry. He's never held himself accountable. He's never apologized. He's never said anything like that. And even in this world where Trump did redeem himself, did change, did apologize, felt really bad about it, we should still uphold guidelines to prevent them from being the most powerful man in the world. Because guess what? Power amplifies you. It amplifies the characteristics of who you are as a person. And who knows? maybe for a quote-unquote rehabilitated sexual violence perpetuator, it's going to amplify the same characteristics of that person that led them to engaging in sexual violence in the first place. But now instead of having a pageant to abuse people at, you have a globe to abuse people in. Recklessly implementing policy because you're pissed that is, disenfranchising and bankrupting manufacturers and American workers. Starting a war in Iran because you're pissed, and now tomahawks are killing 160 schoolgirls. Going on a path of conquest because you're pissed and threatening to invade our allies. Go after Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, asking the military to go into Greenland, right? Refusing to abide by a court order because you're pissed, and now for the last 12 days of the government shutdown, 12 million kids don't have food.
Now, there is so much fraud and shit in the government. Yes, kids need to be fed. I have a soft spot for elderly and the children. The government in general is screwed up, but I want to go back to when I asked you, about redemption.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you are. You look fairly young.
Yeah, I'm 21. Did you kind of absorb my response to the question about redemption, though?
Yes, I did.
What are your
But
thoughts?
I will say, because I'm getting ready to be 53, am I the same person I was 30 years ago? Absolutely not. 30 years ago, would I see myself where I'm at now with my ideology or the way I believe and just think? No.
Do you think that would you ever vote for a child rapist if they raped a child 30 years ago?
No.
So no redemption for child rapists? Then why redemption for child sexual exploiters? Is it because Donald Trump is a child sexual exploiter? Redemption for Trump because maybe you're experiencing cognitive dissonance and you are willing to attempt to rationalize the irrational to uphold a structure of belief for a man who shouldn't be supported?
No. What I'm saying is, there are, and we see it right here in our little hometown. Well, it's everywhere. You get someone in office or someone of importance, and all of a sudden, and I'm not downplaying women who get raped or molested or children that get raped. I'm not downplaying any of that because that is real and we all know it happens. But you have a lot of people that come out of the woodwork to try to destroy someone's reputation.
And if they want to destroy somebody's reputation because they were raped by them, I want to empower them to destroy their reputation.
No, I'm saying that people come out of the woodwork with these allegations, and we all know some of them might not be true.
We know this one is because he admitted to it.
Out to destroy people by saying things.
Well, he said this thing about himself.
Those things that he said, you could clearly tell on that clip that he played. He's bragging to be bragging. Yes, those girls did say he walked in, and that is disgusting. But I'm sure he's not that same person now. He's a grandpa.
Okay. So, you know who else was the age of a grandpa? Epstein. Epstein was the age of a grandpa.
Oh, jeez.
Here's another thing. Do you think that we should ever send people to jail for life? Because if you just think that people could be redeemed from anything, we should never imprison people for life, right? As soon as they're a grandpa, we should let them out, let them become president.
No, and you know that's not what I'm saying.
And I don't think that he's redeemable. I don't think he's redeemable because of how bad the action is, and I don't think he's redeemable because of the fundamental moral values in which led to him engaging in it, right? Like, and I don't think that even if he was redeemable, he should be president. People could be redeemed from bad things to the extent where maybe they work a job, they make an income, they pay their bills, and they try their best to flourish. I don't think people could be redeemed to the extent to be deserving of the most powerful position available to any human alive. That should be reserved for those that don't need to be redeemed for violent sexual actions.
Now, violent. Where is the violence coming in?
infringing on their consent to look at their naked bodies via the abuse of his position of power and the abuse of their position of vulnerability due to the fact that they had an expectation of privacy away from men that was infringed on. That is violent.
When I see violent in a different way.
You see violent like physical touch. Well, you think physical touch is violent because what? Physical touch could hurt people? Okay, well, so can infringing on somebody's expectation of privacy and position of vulnerability via the abuse of your position of power. Physical touch can lead to the same outcomes of pain and sorrow that infringing on somebody's consent without physical touch can. This is why, okay, there's not a single DV shelter in the face of planet Earth anywhere that will tell you that non-physical, unconsensual sexual conduct is not violent, because breaking somebody's consent is always violent.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They were not asked, they were walked in on. And like I said, that is disgusting. But I'll go back to, do I think that's the same man now that did that then? No.
Who's he helping now? Who's he helping? What is he doing now? Prove it. If he's a better man now, then show us how this better man is making anything better for the world around him. Show us how he's caring about other people. What is he doing? What is he doing to prove that he's redeemed? Name one thing. Name one action that Donald Trump has engaged in purely for the betterment of we the people. One.
You're speaking as president, not as just a person.
Yes. One thing he's done purely for the betterment of we the people as president. Let's hear it.
He secured our border.
How? By doing what? Infringing on people's constitutional rights?
Oh,
like the 14th Amendment? How? By doing what? Blackbagging college students? Taking them to ICE detention centers outside of the radius permitted by a judge? Unconstitutionally deporting 300 Venezuelan immigrants? One moment.
We're putting cages.
Well, actually, they're put in cages then beat in CCOT. The UN Human Rights Watch has been reporting torture and abuse at CCOT for, as long as CCOT has been open, even before Donald Trump started sending people there. Now the people that Donald Trump has been sending there are reporting the same type of abuse and torture, being forced to kneel from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m., and when they fall out of exhaustion, they're beat. But tell me, how were the borders secured? What did he do to secure the borders? He didn't do anything. There's no better border policy. He's just scaring it away.
Listen, our immigration, as far as people crossing our border, is down to a minimal.
Because he scared it away by violating the human, natural, and constitutional rights of the undocumented immigrants and their citizen children that are already here. Would you?
No.
Oh, no. Would you stop supporting Trump if he intentionally and belligerently infringed on our Constitution?
He would never do that. The Constitution is in place so that a president can't do that, or anybody.
If he did, would you stop supporting him?
Well, yes, if he did. But
Executive Order number 14160. This was signed into effect his first day in office for a second term. It aimed to infringe on the 14th Amendment by attempting to illegally take birthright citizenship away from the citizen children born to undocumented immigrant parents on American soil, to then reclassify them as undocumented immigrants themselves, to then be deported by the DHS. You can find this online. Once again, that's Executive Order number 14160. Now, the thing is that the Constitution has ensured the children of undocumented immigrants the rightful claim to birthright citizenship if they're born here since the ratification of the 14th Amendment in 1867. This is an example of Donald Trump intentionally and belligerently infringing on the Constitution, and this should be your red line and the reason why you leave the Trump cult. Will it be?
No, because, and I'll tell you why. Because our country was overrun with drugs, and it still is, cartel, illegal immigrants everywhere. And just because you're born here should not give you the right, because then you have all these people coming just to have kids so that everybody can stay.
So let me get this straight. You're acknowledging that he broke the Constitution, but you support it because you think it was a good measure to break.
What is in the Constitution then might have been okay before our government started handing out to everyone.
So to be clear,
it's not okay for it to be.
You are acknowledging he broke the 14th Amendment, but you don't care because you think it was a good provision to break, correct?
I'm not saying that it was. Let me think of how I'm trying to say this. All right, let me ask you this. Do you not agree that these people coming in and the birthright citizenship, do you not agree that they're coming in continuously, having children, our government is taking care of all that, and we're flooded with them.
Yeah, I don't agree.
How is that right?
Okay.
That wasn't happening back when this was written.
So first and foremost, okay, you said that they're a bunch of cartel gang members. Your son and me are more likely to commit a violent crime here than the average undocumented immigrant. That's coming from PNAS. They're 2.5 times less likely to commit violent crimes. Pay over $100 billion per year in taxes, contribute 1.1 through 1.7 trillion dollars to the GDP annually, according to the American Immigration Center. Vast majority of them are good people here for a better life, and they make your life better in turn by paying taxes and growing our economy, not the gang members.
How are they paying taxes when most of them work for cash?
Okay, well, with the use of what is called ITINs. Second of all, you don't have a source that most of them work for cash. Third of all, they could work over the table as a W-2 employee with that ITIN number and pay taxes. Fourth of all, that $100 billion figure is not coming from CNN, it's coming from the IRS.
I understand about being like self-employed subcontractor and all that, but no, that's not what happens most of the time. They're paid cash. There are several that I know work for cash.
So then it just seems
and their cash goes back to their country.
So you have no evidence that undocumented immigrants are more likely to send remittance or sending the money they make back to their home country than legal immigrants. So this wouldn't be a good reason to shut down legal immigration. So why is it a reason to shit on undocumented people? Second of all, you're saying that most of them work for cash. Well, maybe that's because when they do pay taxes, $100 billion per year, they can't file for a tax return. They can't get it back. They also can't get any benefits from the tax that they pay from the federal government or state benefits from 40 or 50 states. So maybe if we were to make them residents or citizens, well, they'd still be working, but now they'd actually be incentivized to work over the table, because if they work under the table, they break that law, they get disqualified from the amnesty program and deported, meaning that they go from paying over $100 billion in taxes, go from paying $100 billion in taxes per year to over that. They go from contributing 1.1 to 1.7 trillion dollars to the economy per year to over that. Maybe they'd go from being really helpful to even more helpful, right? But no, it's because you want to just classify them all as these reckless gang members who are here to kill and rape people, because that's what Trump tells you, because Donald Trump wants you to hate them, so then you excuse the violence he's implemented against them. It is a part of every fascist regime, okay, in human history. And by the way, every fascist regime in human history also had millions of followers, no different than you, me, or anybody else in this room. At their core, they were human too, okay? But these humans became so deluded in their terrible cults that they were convinced that what was in all reality a fascist regime harmful to we the people was for the benefit of the world, all right? And now what is the likelihood that you find yourself in that subcategory of unfortunate followers of the fascist regime, excusing the harm by saying maybe he's changed from when he would sexually exploit people, excusing the harm, the woman that proved he raped her in a court was in all reality just a liar, nothing will change my mind, excusing the harm because, well, I know he killed 160 girls with the tomahawk in Iran, but we needed to do it, but it's not doing anything except for making my gas more expensive. Excusing the harm by overlooking all the Venezuelan immigrants that were deported with no due process to be tortured in CCOT once again, because guess what? They're all criminals that want to rape me. Okay? Right? Like, come on. There has to be a line that we draw in the sand where we recognize our own faults and become better. And I think for you, the issue is recognizing that you're wrong. Because if you were wrong, then that would mean everything in which you've come to believe from the day you voted for Trump in 2015 is incorrect. Like 10 years of your life just down the drain. Nobody wants to throw 10 years of their life down the drain, man. No one. So do you maybe see how maybe that is translating into subconscious bias to reject something that paints Trump to be bad, even if in all reality it's true? We know people have bias. You know people have bias. How do you know you're not one of those people?
Oh, no, I will say, I'm very biased when it comes to Trump. I admit it.
But it's not a good thing to be biased.
But listen, if you're saying that all these illegal immigrants, aliens, whatever you want to call them, are all good working people, why did Obama have them in cages?
Listen, I've heard the Obama cage claim. Personally, I've never researched the Obama cage claim. But what I will say is your claim seems to translate into, well, if they're good, then why did Obama deport them? Well, first and foremost, Obama focused his deportation efforts on undocumented immigrants with bad crimes on the record. He's actually the person that made the work program for the undocumented immigrants here with no bad crimes on the record so they could work and pay taxes. Okay? Same thing with Biden. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Obama could be wrong. Let's assume that Obama was doing the same thing Trump was doing today. So if they're here for the benefit of the country and it would be better to give them amnesty, then why did Obama do all these bad things? Because Obama was wrong, just like Trump.
Well, Hillary did the same. She didn't do that, but Hillary, there are so many clips of her speaking about we can't allow all these people to come across our border. And this is years ago. And so Trump does something about it, and all of a sudden, he's the bad guy.
All right, so Hillary was never president, so nobody ever painted Hillary to be the bad guy because she was never, the head honcho, the one in control, the one directing the DHS to racially profile black and brown people, the one excusing ICE agents that would murder American citizens like Alex Spready, Keith Porter, and Renee Good.
I can't even hear that. Please go on about George Floyd. I'd like to hear about that.
George Floyd, the man that was murdered by a cop?
Oh.
Do you not think that George Floyd was murdered?
I think George Floyd was on a whole lot of dope.
Okay, and I think the autopsy report acknowledged the fact that he had low levels of the F drug in his system and concluded that it couldn't have led to an OD because the levels were not at the threshold to cause an OD. Also, how insane would that be? How insane would that be? A man shopping, getting ready to OD, but he's still alive, doing his thing, and then then a cop puts their knee on his neck for 7 minutes. And it wasn't the knee on the neck thing that killed him. It was the OD. Okay, yeah, in conclusion, the autopsy report proved that it was not. So why do you believe that? Why do you believe he died from an OD when the coroner's report from the autopsy proved otherwise? This is another example of your bias, of your unfair bias that you uphold over the facts, that you uphold over the reality, because you think that you get to play with the rest of the world like a little sandbox, even if it negatively impacts the lives of those around you. You're not God. You don't create the reality that we live in. And you, just like I and everybody else, must hold to a humble adherence to the facts, even if we don't like them. I know you don't like the fact that George Floyd was killed by a racist cop, but that's what happened.
I specifically read George Floyd had more than just a little bit of dope in his system.
Did you get this from the autopsy report?
I don't remember where I read it.
Twitter, Facebook, Telegram.
I don't get on Twitter.
Listen, the autopsy report concluded that he did not die from an OD. Would you like a source?
I know that he did not specifically, but it was wrote, and I read it, that, yes, the cop put his knee on his neck, but he was already foaming at the mouth and fighting the police before that ever happened. Why was he
fighting self-defense?
With the police if he was straight?
So it was self-defense? Is that your claim?
They were trying to arrest him. What would you do if you were a cop? Would you say, okay, honey, let me put these handcuffs on you?
Yeah, so what I do if somebody was trying to attack me while I was trying to arrest them, I'd fucking tase their ass and put them in cuffs. That's what I'd do.
If you could, you don't know unless you're in that situation.
If he had the ability to keep him restrained on the ground for 7 minutes with just his knee, I think he had the ability to put him in cuffs and throw him in the back of the car.
He was a big man.
That he somehow restrained the entirety of his body with his knee for 7 minutes?
When they're on drugs,
wait. Can we acknowledge that he had the ability to restrain this big man with his knee for 7 minutes? If he could restrain him with one knee for 7 minutes, why couldn't he just put him in cuffs and throw him in the back of the car? Well, that's why he could. That's why he was convicted of murder.
Well,
Like that's right there. That's why he was convicted of murder.
listen, the way he was upheld and the world, the United States went nuts, burned cities down, and
Wait, he was in cuffs. George Floyd was in cuffs. When he was on the ground, he was in cuffs.
I believe so.
Okay, so he was in cuffs on the ground. Why didn't they pick him up and take him to the back of the car?
He could still kick and fight and thrash.
Couldn't he do that on the ground too?
Not if you're face down.
Oh, okay, so you're saying that they had good reason to keep him on the ground for 7 minutes with the knee on the neck. And what are you saying, like, I can't breathe? Why do they just ignore that?
Because he was hyped up.
Oh, okay. So we need to kill people that are hyped up. Because you
No.
understand, when you prevent somebody
was
from
an
breathing for 7
accident.
minutes...
Do I think that Derek Chauvin meant to kill
If
George
you
Floyd?
strangled your son for 7 minutes, and the whole time your son was saying, I can't breathe, and then he died, would that be an accident?
Oh, that's just not even...
Why? Because your son's white?
Oh, please, don't try to act like I'm some sort of racial person.
Well,
because
I don't
I'm
know.
not.
Well, then what is it? I'm not seeing it.
is,
I think
let me
I think there's two factors. Black man killed by racist white cop that then provoked a big conversation about racism in the policing force. Now, you don't think that we live in a racist country. You don't think systemic racism is real. You think if any racism exists, white people experience maybe a little bit more than black people, if anything, because the crazy left is always talking about how much white people suck, right? Because that's your takeaway from conversations about systems of racism that exists. And the notion that a white man in a position of power would kill a black person rooted in racism is just contradictory to everything that you believe. So you can't accept it. Even when he was choked to death for 7 minutes, cuffs. You can't accept it, because if you do accept it, then your worldview is turned flat on its face. And
No,
yes, this
because
makes
if
you
it was
racist.
a white man that they had down on the ground and it was a black cop or an Asian cop or whatever, and the white man done the same thing, they had to do what they had to do.
Okay.
I'm not racist.
Well, how did they, well, that's not what the court said. The court didn't say that's what they had to do. Well, common sense doesn't say that's what they had to do. We agree that cops arrest people who don't want to be arrested every day.
Yes.
Okay. Do cops kill people who don't want to be arrested every day? Well,
Listen,
well,
you know what? There's ways. If you get pulled over, you can put yourself in a bad situation quick by not cooperating.
a lack of cooperation is a civil penalty that can be punished with a fine. A lack of cooperation is not a death sentence.
Okay, if it was your life or the person that you were trying to arrest, what would you do?
How was it his life? He was in cuffs.
I'm just saying.
On the ground. Being restrained by a singular knee.
But do you think they feared for their life at any point?
No.
Fighting, trying to arrest someone that
He
is
didn't have a
hyped up
weapon.
on dope? But see, I look at things different.
He was in cuffs.
When it comes to a cop,
If you're able to restrain a suspect to the extent of getting them in cuffs, no, you don't fear for your life. They're in cuffs. And you were able to get them in cuffs. That's the other thing that matters. Maybe if there's like some really big dude who just so happens to be in cuffs, that like, you know, they might be able to get you. Okay, if you're not the one that put them in cuffs. But if you're the one that put them in cuffs, well, I mean, you had enough ability to restrain them when they weren't in cuffs. You'll definitely have the ability to restrain them while they are in cuffs too.
but cops put their life on the line every day. They don't know what they're walking into.
Oh yes,
They don't know
therefore
what
they could just
somebody's-
kill people by choking them for 7 minutes. No.
No, listen, I'm not anti-police,
not
and
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think cops can make mistakes. Yes, they can. We had a man in 4 or 5 towns over that they served a warrant at the wrong house.
Why didn't he get off of his
was
neck when he said, I can't breathe? Because you know when people can't breathe, they die, right? Can we agree that when people can't breathe, they die?
Oh, don't talk to me like I'm an idiot.
Well, can we agree on that? When people can't breathe, they die. So when George Floyd was saying, I can't breathe, why did he stay on his neck for another 7 minutes? Why?
Because he was hyped up and he was wanting loose. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. But you understood the moment when George Floyd said, I can't breathe, and then he kept the knee on the neck, that was a recognition that he was going to kill George Floyd. That's why it wasn't an accident.
Do you ever watch
and he also
the show
hyped up, he was
Cops?
just laying there.
Do you ever watch the show Cops, the television show?
I've watched just as much Cops as you've read books. So, here and there. Not really.
Oh. You know, I've really tried to be nice, but now if you want to start disrespecting, I can go right there with the best of them.
I bet you can. I
Don't
bet you can disrespect me the way that you've been disrespecting survivors, the way that you've been disrespecting victims of police brutality, the way that you've been disrespecting Iranians, the way that you've been disrespecting low-income Americans, the way that you've been disrespecting women and girls, the way that you've been disrespecting those taken advantage of by Epstein, the way that you've been disrespecting, I mean, just about anybody but you, Trump, and his other followers. Well, you are actually disrespecting many of Trump's other followers, right? Like, Trump has followers that are women. You're disrespecting them. I guess you're disrespecting you. You're not disrespecting well, you are disrespecting yourself. Fuck! The only person I could think of in the equation that you're not disrespecting is Trump. But everybody else you're disrespecting.
Dean, let me just tell you a little something. I grew up poorer than dirt. Don't talk to me about disrespecting low-income people, because I grew up with nothing.
Okay.
No running water, no health insurance, nothing.
So
I came from nothing, and I am sitting comfortable now.
Okay.
But it took work. I worked every day from the time I was 16 until I retired a little while back.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about how I disrespect low-income people.
Do you think that because you were once low income, you can't disrespect low income people? That's unreal. For a part of my childhood, I was kind of homeless, jumping between different couches to surf on when my mom was, dealing with a drug abuse problem. But if I turned around and I said, you know what? For everybody who's suffering with addiction, fuck you. You're beta. And for all the homeless people out there couch surfing, society would be better off without you. Okay. Yeah, I just disrespected. I just disrespected people struggling with addiction, and I disrespected homeless people. Even though at one point in my childhood, I was couch surfing and had a mom struggling with addiction. See, you can absolutely disrespect demographics of individuals which you were once in or you are in now.
How did I disrespect anybody low income?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Well, when you started to say that, well, we just have all these welfare people now who are relying on the system and super lazy, and Trump's coming in cleaning it up by kicking 10 million people off of health insurance when we already have 51,000 that die every year.
Oh, no. Let me reiterate that for you, because what I'm talking about with welfare is all these people that want to have 20 kids, and you see them every day. The government's taking care of them. They don't go work.
Yeah.
Yes, welfare is needed for the people who cannot make it, not for the lazy.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
So I'm not being disrespectful.
So what should we do then? For the lazy parents with kids, should we just cut them off of the food stamps because the parents are lazy and let the kids starve?
No, let it be generational. Let them teach it to their children. And their children, that way they always live off the government.
Well, that's why we require kids to go through K through 12 education. So if they aren't learning what is required to succeed in life from their parents, they learn it from the schools.
No, they learn.
But guess who supports the abolishment of the Federal Department of Education and uplifts homeschooling? Trump. So, I mean, maybe this point is self-refuting on your end, not mine. But what should we do? Lazy parents with kids. This is a dilemma, okay? This is a real dilemma. You don't want the kids to starve. I don't want the kids to starve. What do? Maybe we give them what is required to ensure that the kids don't starve to death, but not in which would be required to live life happily, right? We're not giving them a mansion or anything. And this leaves room for them to be incentivized to go to work and make money so then they can be happier, get a mansion one day. That seems like maybe the best option. What's a better one?
Well, evidently, you're talking like somebody that supports Bernie Sanders or something like that, that believes everybody should just have everything for free. And, you know, if this person's rich, let's take some of their money and give it to the people over here that won't work.
Yeah, you just perfectly summed out the MAGA identity in a nutshell. Misrepresent what the other person is saying. And then make it sound insane. I'm not saying everybody should have everything for free.
I've listened to you call me racist.
Well, yeah.
Just because you say it doesn't mean it's true, honey.
Well, I mean, then convince me that George Floyd wasn't murdered with reason, fact, and logic, not just because the person who murdered him was a white
George
cop.
Floyd the only person in the United States that has been killed by a cop?
No.
Black, white, orange, green, yellow, it don't matter. All race get killed by cops at some point.
Oh, okay. So,
there's mistakes that happen.
Okay, so, well, this, once again, wasn't a mistake.
Oh, geez.
And also, by the way, black people get disproportionately killed by cops to a significantly higher degree than white people, even though they only make up 14% of the population. They also account for 83% of the exonerations in our criminal justice system. Why is that? How do you explain that? How do you explain that 14% of the population accounts for 83% of the exonerations in our criminal justice system? Explain it.
Well, what about the crime rate?
Oh, you mean the crime rate that has exploded via the fact that you're looking at the arrest rate, which includes the exonerations?
Listen.
No, seriously, explain it. Explain to me why you think black people, 14% of the population, account for 84% of the exonerations in our criminal justice system. Might this implicate the criminal justice system to be guilty of targeting black people?
I guess you could look at it that way.
Do you look at it that way?
I'm probably 50-50 on it.
They might be targeting black people. What's the other 50% comprised of? What else could it be?
I mean, are you saying that white people don't get accused of stuff and go to the pen?
No, I'm not saying that at all, because it's only 84% of exonerations that black people account for. There's another 16% for white people, Hispanic people, indigenous people, Asian people, so on and so forth. Yeah, there's another 16% for everybody else. Okay? Right, but how do we explain the fact that black people account for 86% of exonerations?
Well, let me ask you this. Why are you solely trying to put this back on me as if I'm racist?
Well, if you're not racist, I feel like the answer to this question is clear. That's what I'm saying. I feel like non-racist people would say, whoa, 14% of the population accounts for 86% of the exonerations? Clearly, the criminal justice system seems to be targeting that 14% of the population.
So a non-racist person would say that.
Yeah. I feel like a racist person would say, well, black people too commit more crimes, even though that has nothing to do with the exoneration rate, because exonerations are when people are arrested for crimes they didn't commit. And it's commonly used as a racist dog whistle because it is shielded by that exoneration rate. And that's kind of what you did. I brought up the fact that black people account for 84% of the exonerations. The times when people are arrested for crimes they didn't commit then let go. And the response was, well, have you ever looked at the crime rate? Yeah, that's a little bit of a racist response, I'd say.
Well, I mean, you have your opinion. I'm not racist, but
okay.
I mean, you want to go off on the George Floyd thing as if he's the only person that's ever been killed by a cop.
Well, once again, black people are disproportionately killed by cops much more frequently than white people, very much so. There's been a lot of data and analysis done on this. I mean, they're just significantly more likely to get killed by cops and other things, to get pulled over too. There's this daytime-nighttime test study that was conducted where, during the daytime, where cops can see in through the windows of cars to see the race of the driver, that black people are significantly more likely to get pulled over by any other race. But then during the nighttime, it all goes away. During the nighttime, black people are not more likely than any other race to get pulled over. It's called the Veil of Darkness study. Why is that the case? That during the day, black people are more likely than anybody else to get pulled over, yet during the night, they're not. Why?
Okay, and this has what to do with Trump?
I mean, this is all consequential if you bring it up George Floyd. It's a larger conversation about the state of our criminal justice system and the fact that we uphold institutions in this nation in which are so evidently racist. It doesn't take nuance or like a book to understand that if black people are like 5 times more likely to get pulled over during the day than during the night in comparison to any other race, that seemingly this institution is racist as shit. Cherry on top, exoneration rate, holy moly, we need to fix it. It's not easy.
Hey, how do you fix that? I'm not saying that what you're saying is not true.
Okay, well, I mean,
I've never looked into it.
I think my solution, I think my solution is to make sure that racist people can't become a cop in 6 months to then exert their power, right? I think that becoming a cop should be one of the hardest jobs achievable by anybody. Okay, I think that it should be just as hard to hold the power of the law in your hands that could take a life on a whim, just as hard it is to become a doctor to hold a scalpel in your hands to take a life on a whim. It should take 12 years of schooling to become a police officer. And, well, then that leads you to the dilemma. Well, if it's going to take 12 years of schooling to become a cop, not a lot of people are going to want to be a cop, so we got to pay them more. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess we got to pay cops more. Let's go ahead and give a shit ton of funding to a brand new federal system for local police forces across the nation, where we ensure in order to become a cop, you got to go to school for 12 years and you make fucking bank. Because guess what? You are a vicar of the law, upholding it with reason and good value, and executing upon the position of your 12 years of training. And I think that would be a great first step in the solution of the issue. Because then the second step is, well, it doesn't really matter how well-trained or reasonable or intelligent these people are. If the law that they're enforcing is unfair, then they are too. So I think that's when we got to take a step back and look at the law. Okay, why is weed illegal? That's crazy. Why is it the case that you could buy weed in Colorado, drive down to Texas, then all of a sudden you go to jail? That's pretty unfair. All right, let's go ahead and federally legalize the use of weed. All right, let's go ahead and take a good look and examine. Yes.
Oh, gee.
What's the issue with weed? It's better than alcohol, and this is coming from a man that loves a drink and hates weed. Come on, like what's the deal with weed? Why should that be federally illegal? Give me the argument. I've never asked anybody this before, so this will be very interesting.
Listen, pot, I mean, it can be laced with anything and everything.
Which is why we legalize it. So then you're not buying it from some random dealer that could have laced it with anything and everything, but you're rather getting it from an established dispensary that doesn't lace it with anything or everything, because they get it from legitimate legal producers, just the same way you'd get anything else from any other legitimate producer.
No, then you still have your home growers. Since it's legal, they're still going to be growing their pot.
Yeah, and they know it's not laced with anything.
Lacing it with whatever, and people are still going to be buying it because they get the bigger high.
Okay. Because they get the bigger high with a laced weed? Okay. I'm not going to lie, they're dumb as shit. I'm sorry, bro. If you are willing to risk buying laced weed in a state or a country where there's legal marijuana that you could buy from a legitimate business because you think that you'll get a bigger high from the lace weed, user error. Like, just dumb as hell. Dumb as fuck.
Well, that's just my opinion.
Okay, but like clearly, right, when it's illegal, the only option that people have to buy it is from the drug dealers that could have laced it.
That is true. I mean, it's just like with your pills and everything else that's going around.
Or alcohol. When alcohol was illegal, we had moonshine. Moonshine killed a lot of people because they couldn't keep track of the particular alcohol content. Sometimes it was way too high. People would drink too much, and the next thing they know, because they're dead because of their blood alcohol content. But do we have people just dropping left and right because of poisonous alcohol or moonshine today? No. Why? Well, it's because now alcohol is legal. You're no longer going to your neighbor who made his moonshine with ethanol because it will be a first good drink than be a last second drink. All right?
Listen,
that's a really good example. That's a
you.
really good, that's a great argument for why weed should be legal.
I agree with you 100% that do I think weed is worse than alcohol? Absolutely not. It's not.
So then we should either think that both should be legal or both should be illegal.
It's just my generation growing up. I mean, yeah, you had to go wherever to get your pot if you were going to smoke it. And, I mean, they were lacing it back then.
Right.
But now you can go to your local vape shop and buy this bunk ass, some kind of something that I've watched people get laid out cold with it. That's supposed to
what?
Pot.
I'm confused.
What?
I don't think that followed.
There's these little vape shops. They sell it's something other Delta.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes, they had those in Boulder. It's like not THC, but it's a very close variant. Delta 7 or something.
It's something like that. And
Bro, you
I've
said
seen
good.
it wipe people out for days.
Well, I mean, a better reason to legalize THC because if Delta 8 or 9 or whatever the fuck has an issue with it, well, now people could just go straight to the dispensary and get that good old THC.
Well, yeah, if it worked that way in a perfect world, yes.
I mean, I'm speaking.
More people die from alcohol than they do pot.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it works in this world, though. I've lived in areas where weed was illegal. I've lived in areas where weed is legal. I went from being under the age of 21 and watching people in high school OD on laced weed to now being over 21, watching people get weed from the dispensary and smoking it and without a worry in the world.
Well, we don't have anything like that here, of course.
And
all they
should.
have is the little vape shops or whatever. Yeah, I mean, if they could legalize it and make it like take that shit like Delta whatever off the market, yeah, and get straight pot, straight weed, yeah.
How many
Just
times
like
how many times have you seen alcohol lay people out?
A lot.
So we should make that illegal alongside the Delta 8?
Look, I've always thought alcohol is, I don't know how to even, it's one of those things that, yes, it's legal. I've never understood why you could go buy a bottle of liquor, drink and drive, and kill somebody when you could just smoke a joint and sit on the
You
couch.
won't advocate for legalizing because a lot of people can't smoke joints, dude. Because if they smoke a joint, they go to jail for like 10 years.
Yeah, or they lose their jobs.
Right. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and end this conversation here. I really hope that you take to heart some of the things that I said. I really tried to do my best. And I hope that one day you realize that Trump is not who you chop him up to be, okay?
It was a pleasure talking with you. You did get a little jazzy with me. I didn't appreciate it, but that's all right. We have a difference of opinions, and that's just the way it is. I wish you well, and it was fun.
Yeah, tell your son that he's a beast the best way possible. That's like a good thing. I don't know. It's
And
like
listen,
a younger generation thing, like a beast. It's like a good thing. Tell your son he's a beast, okay?
I will. And I was not being total MAGA like I normally am, just because I'm trying to keep it light. But yes, I am a Trump supporter, and I respect whatever party you want to.
Yeah, take care. I'll go ahead and disconnect you. Have a good one. I really tried my hardest with her, folks. You probably saw a level of patience from me with that you've never seen before. That was a lot.